96% of my focus has been on listings. I took over 1,000 listings my first 10 years in the business, and now I'm dedicated really to paying it forward. Okay, that's mostly what I do. I teach, train, coach. In 2015, I finished the year 2014. I did 153 transactions. Okay, and I did that with I had a couple of assistants to help. You'll learn that with just a few people, you can do a lot if you have the right systems in place. Okay. But I was going to try to ramp my business up to 400 deals a year, because I'm from Austin, Texas. That's where I live, and you can do that kind of production there. I'm not sure, in this area, but you can definitely do that. People are there that are doing that. So I prayed about it. I'm a man of faith, and I prayed about it. I said, this is what I'm going to do, and I kind of created a team, because here's the thing. How many of y'all know it's easier to do 100 deals a year than it is to do 30 deals a year? How many of y'all know that? Okay, most real estate agents don't realize that. When I was 8 months in the business, and I'm going to tell you guys some things that maybe you haven't heard before, and it's okay. If you don't believe what I'm saying, that's okay too. Okay? Because I'm not here to get you to convince you of anything. I'm here to tell you truth. Okay? Now, whether you may not receive, because these things may be unfamiliar to you, and that's okay. But what I want you to do is play along as if the possibility of it exists. Like, maybe that's possible. My coach, 8 months in the business, I was paying her $1,000 a month. I was 8 months in the business. I was doing a lot of deals. And she said, no, and my goal was to do 40 deals a year. That was my goal coming in the business. And she says, Knolly, you need to do 100 deals a year. And I said, that's ridiculous. Who would do that? That's insane. Like, I can't even keep up doing 40 deals. She said, I guarantee you that if you do 100 deals a year, it would be much easier for you than the 40 deals that you're doing. So I gave it a try, and she was absolutely right. She was absolutely right. And I'm going to explain to you why that's right as we get in the presentation, okay? Now, if there's anything that I'm sharing with you that you stumble across or stumble on, and you just don't get it, it's like, man, I don't understand what he's saying here, just raise your hand, right? Just raise your hand, interrupt me, I will get back to my train of thought. So I was going to do 400 deals a year. I did 153, I was going to go to do 400. And I built up a team to do this. And I heard this voice in my head, the Lord, said, we're not doing that. I said, yeah, I'm doing that. I already have my team in place. I bought all these brochures. I spent a lot of money to basically ramp it up to this, and this is what we're doing. He says, no, I've created you to go out and feed my sheep. And I'm a Bible teacher. I've been teaching Bible for 30 years. So I'm very into Jesus. I'm very into the Bible and all that. But I'm also an entrepreneur. I love being successful, And so I said, no, I'm going to do this. Well, I kept getting that tug, that itch in my heart to really go out and teach. How many of y'all like to give back? Some of you guys may not be in the point where you can give back. It might be all about you right now, and that's okay. Don't feel ashamed about it, because right now you got to put food on the table for your family, right, before you can go feed other families, and that's all right. Okay, so you're going to get a 90-page handout, and you're going to get the video of what we're doing here today, okay? So here, and the reason I tell you guys this is you can take meticulous notes if you want to, and that's okay, but you'll also get the playback, right? So just try to absorb what I'm teaching, if you can. Ground rules: cell phones on vibrate, minimize side talking, okay? Have fun, and no chewing gum. Those are the only rules I have. Everybody okay with that? Anybody got any questions? You guys all know that the no chewing gum is a joke, right? Y'all know that. I was at one seminar. I think it was in. I've done my seminar over 100 times. Been to over 70 cities. Sometimes we have 600 people. Sometimes we have a small group like this. Doesn't matter to me. Each one of you is a precious soul of God, and I've been sent here to help you. Not like, you need help, I'm going to help you. No, we all need help from each other. You're also here to help me, right? To help me. So I'm going to learn from you. You're going to learn from me. But this poor gal in Seattle, she swallowed her gum. Oh, I felt so bad. Because she thought that was for real. I was like, don't y'all do jokes in this town? Anyway, that's a joke. How many of y'all like rules? You do. See the rules, and the rules people always sit up front. I don't like that. I'm the guy, I left home when I was 16 years old. Why? Because I didn't like rules. When I was 18, I knew everything. And then I left home at 16. When I was 19, I reunited with my mom, and I was so surprised at how much she learned in 3 years. When I was 16, she didn't know anything. When I was 19, I was like, Mom, you learned a lot. Okay, God first, family, life, and then business. That's kind of how I run my business. You run yours the way you want, and this is just kind of my philosophy. You kind of open up and share with you. Let me tell you about the paycheck that you'll never spend. People ask, why do you do what you do, And sometimes people will ask you, hey, why are you in real estate? People ask me all the time, Knolly, why do you, one guy was asking me, he says, do you make more money teaching? And, I about fell out my chair. You can make good money teaching, okay, if you're smart about it. But the reality is, I can sell a ton of houses and make tons of money. Yeah, I did that for years. There's no problem, God's given me a great life, and I think He's done that for all of us. But there was a paycheck that I found that I've never been able to spend. And here's how it goes. I was in the coffee line at a big convention. Anybody ever been to a big convention? And you've been to the coffee line? And I was a speaker that year, and so I was trying to get my coffee in, early in the morning. And I'm like, man, where's the VIP line around here? What's going on? I'm in this long line. And this guy walks up behind me. He says, are you Knolly Williams? And I look back, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Knolly Williams. And I'm thinking, because you get cranky in the morning. I do, anyway. At that time, I was. I'm better now. I said, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, ain't too many black cowboys here. Yeah, that's me. I'm Knolly Williams, And then he says, well, can I buy you a coffee? And what do you think when somebody tells you, can I buy you a lunch?
What do you want?
What do you want? Exactly. See how? And so I'm thinking, I'm looking at the line, I'm looking at him, I'm looking at the line, and I said, this guy wants a coaching session. He's going to get a 20-minute coaching, right, all the way up to the thing. So, and I said, well, sure, have we met before? Do I know you? Because, you meet a lot of people when you travel. You guys travel too. And so he says, Knolly, I've never met you before, but let me share with you how you changed my life. I say, okay. He says, I watched a YouTube video that you did. And he says, I was on my way out of the business. Anybody ever been there? Your family, go get a real job. Trying to sell real estate, right? That's where he was. He said he watched a video. This was back in the short sale days. He watched a video that I did. And he said that he was down to his last listing. Well, he took 60 listings. Just from watching that one video, he took over 60 listings within the next year. But what it really did was it allowed him to stay in the business and allowed him to put food on the table for his family. That's what he said I did for him. That's the paycheck that you'll never spend. I mean, I've earned a lot of money in my life, but what he gave me from that, I'll never spend that. I can wake up every morning and say, why am I in Colorado Springs? I could be at home in Austin in my bed. Oh, remember the paycheck that you'll never spend? That's why you're doing this, right? And you run across lovely people that you said you heard me speak, right? What, 9 years ago? And she's back again for more torment, right? Good job. And you watch the videos. Good for you. So that's the paycheck that you'll never spend. That's why I do what I do. I have a book called Success with Listings. I used to bring these books. I used to sell them. If you don't have it, I highly recommend. It comes highly recommended. It's a national bestseller. It debuted as the #1 release on Amazon. You can download it absolutely free. Just go to knolly.com and just download it. Just put in your information. We'll email a copy of it to you because it's a big download.
Is it Audible?
It's not on Audible yet. I love Audible. Oh my goodness. I told people, I said I will never get into Audible, but
You should record it.
But the thing about this, I should record it, and I will record it. It is on Kindle. It's got a Kindle version, but there's a lot of diagrams and there's a lot of scripts. It's got over 95 scripts. So the thing about Audible, this is a textbook, so the thing about Audible that's kind of a little bit weird is that this isn't really a book that you read like an audio book. It's a reference manual. So you'll read like the first 10 chapters, and then the rest of it, I have a 46-step listing system. So the rest of it is just like step 1, here's what you do. Step 2, so you'll be going back to it like, okay, I'm on step 4, what do I do next? And then you'll have your client on the phone like, here's my script, okay. Hi there, that kind of thing.
Is it still in print? Can you see?
Yeah, it's still, God, is it still in print? How long is it?
I mean, if it's digital, you can...
Yeah, it's still in print.
Okay.
And
I don't want to wait.
And it's on Amazon. I mean, you can get it on Amazon. It's like $16.99 or something like that. I just reduced the price of it to $16.99. Or you can go to Knolly.com. But I highly recommend we'll pass a few of them around just so you guys can look at the content in there. But because people used to say, can I pick your brain? Can I pick your brain? Can I pick your brain? And so I finally just picked it myself, took 430 pages, because people want to know, how'd you sell over 1,000 houses in 10 years? And so I just shared with them how I did that in the book. So you guys can just kind of circulate that while I'm talking. Now, what we're going to learn today, why listings are the best opportunity for you guys, okay? Why that's the best opportunity. Why you should transition your core business, if you haven't already, to listings. Why you should do that. How to win the listing before you ever meet the seller. Did you know that nowadays you have to win the listing before you ever meet the seller? It's a weird proposition, right? See, we went out to eat last night. We went to eat Thai food because I like it a little spicy, right? And Juanita does not like spice. I learned that. But what do? We looked to see the reviews. We looked to see what people were saying about it. In other words, they won us over before we ever stepped foot in the restaurant. They had a 4.5 star rating. We're going to go eat there. Okay, so that's what people are doing with you. They're looking you up. They're Googling you. They're even Googling your email address. They're trying to find out as much about you as possible, because I can guarantee you the last thing a seller wants to do is sit down with Knolly Williams. That's the last thing they want to do. Okay, and it is in fact the last thing that they do. Okay, because they will never call me up to sit down with them unless they're pretty sure they're going to sell. Unless it's a friend of mine, past client, friends, sphere of influence, no problem. They'll talk to you. But generally, sellers, they really don't want to talk to you because they don't want to be sold. They don't want to be talked to, even though we wouldn't do that to them, right? You know, most agents, we get a bad rap. Most of the agents that I've talked to and come across are very honest and ethical. But we do get a bad rap in the press and everywhere else. How to earn more money and work less, and how to get all the success tools that I use and have used in my business that have helped take over 100 listings a year for over 10 years in a row. I'm going to share with you how to get all that stuff absolutely free. Are y'all up for that training? Okay, that's what we're going to get to today. Part one, though, is about why listings. Why listings? Now, how many of you guys know that you should be taking more listings? Raise your hand. Okay? So you're already convinced that listings are what's going on, right? Okay? Well, this is going to help cement it in your mind. I'm going to give you my top 10 reasons. We're going to kind of try to thumb through these as fast as possible, because what I'd really like to do, if we can, depends on how many questions you guys have as I'm going through the material, is get to my Q&A section, my mastermind section, because that's not the later on today mastermind, but where you guys just get to ask me anything on your heart. Okay? Right now it's kind of we're getting to know each other. Let me share with you just a little bit more about me. Without getting too lengthy. So I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I was born in 1970. When I was 10, we moved to Los Angeles, and I was kind of raised there. I got into bad stuff when I was a kid, 14, 15, 16. Has anybody ever raised teenagers? Okay. Have some of them gone wayward? That was me, by the way. I'm the wayward kid. Raised in church, more or less, in and out, kind of, but just really I wasn't into it. And so when I was 16 years old, I left home. I said, I know what I want to do, and I'm going to do my thing, right? And that's what I did. I just went and lived with friends. I mean, it was just crazy. So by the time I was 18, I reconciled with my mom. I reconciled with the Lord, and I decided I don't want to live like this. My uncle in Austin, Texas said, boy, come on out here and help me out with my business. He was in the music business. So I moved at 18 years old to Austin, Texas. Been there. I took an overnight bag. I mean, I was going to be there for like 3 weeks or a month or so. I've been there 30 years. I never left. I just never left. I love it that much. So when I was 23 years old, okay, I got married when I was 22. Been married 27 years. My wife's right back here. Give her a round of applause for hanging out with me. We'll be 27 years next month, okay? And when her and I got married, I was working as a graphic designer for a lawyer, for an attorney, okay? But I always wanted to have my own business. I was an entrepreneur at heart. So I started my own business when I was 20. I wanted to be in the music business. I was 23 years old, or was I 22? Was I 22 when I started? 22 years old. And I told my boss, I gave him a 3-month notice, 3 months, because I love my boss, and I didn't want him to be scrambling. And I came home, I told my wife, I said, I quit my job. She about to fell out, right? Because we were making back then $1,000 a month each. Okay, this is back in 1992. I raised $1,800 from family and friends, not borrowed the money. I just went to them and asked them, can you give me 100, 25, whatever you can do, because I want to start my own business. And I started that business with $1,800. 5 years later, we were making $150,000 a month in the music business. Grew the #1 Christian rap label in the world, okay, worldwide, distributed by EMI Capital. When we signed on with them, they gave us $600,000 just to sign on, actually $650,000 sign-on bonus, okay? When I signed on with them, I was 29 years old. Now let me ask you a question. Who gives a 29-year-old $650,000? It happens all the time in some of these, entertainment, right? And in sports and things like that. Well, what do you think I did with the money? Yeah. I spent it on the business, but I can't account for it today. Didn't pay off my house, didn't do anything. We had a 6,000 square foot home on 10 acres with a 1,200 square foot recording studio and a 1,500 square foot office building. Lost everything, okay? I was 33 years old, lost it all. Why? Because the music business tanked. Has the real estate business ever tanked? Has it ever done that? Well, that's what the music business did. What happened? Digital came along. Digital. MP3, okay? And record labels were irrelevant, okay? Artists didn't need us. And so I just lost 70% of my business seemingly overnight. It didn't happen overnight. The warning signs were there, but I didn't pay attention to them, okay? So I said, what am I going to do now? Real estate. When I was 33 years old, got my license, okay? And that's what I started. I started doing real estate. Now, because of my personality profile, I studied the game. I was scared to death to get into real estate, scared to death. So I got my license in June, started practicing in December. But because of all that groundwork, I was able to take 21 listings my first 74 days in the business, okay? And it just went on from there. Now, that's just a little history about me. Let's move. I promised to be brief, and I didn't keep my promise. But I want you guys to have a little backstory. Anybody ever failed? Okay, I've been bankrupt. I've been through bankruptcy. I've had a home foreclose. I've had to short sell one of my houses. I've been through whatever you guys have been through, I've been there, okay? But I'm on the other side of it. Now, fast forward. My house is paid off. All my cars are paid off. I have no debt of any kind. My credit cards, I pay them every month, and I'm debt free. So now when I get up in the morning, I go play. What do I want to do today? I want to go to Colorado Springs, hang out with Juanita, and teach you guys. Why? Because I don't have to do anything in particular. Does that make sense? Right? And that's what I want for you guys as well if you're not already there. Now, focusing on seller listings will allow you to have it will allow you to get what you want faster and allow you to have a life. Because a lot of times when it comes to working with buyers, your life gets put on hold. Okay, you want to go on that cruise for 10 days. My wife and I just got back from 30 days. I'm not bragging, guys. This is the life anybody can live. Okay? We just got back from being 30 days overseas. Okay? We did 10 days in the Greek islands. We did the Holy Land. We did London for 5 days. We did New York. And we did Italy. Okay? 30 days we were gone. I didn't have no buyers calling me. You didn't have to deal with that. And if I want to go on that cruise, because I used to love cruising. I don't like it as much as I used to. Anybody like cruising? Mm-hmm. You don't like it. I don't like it. Have you done it?
Yes.
Yeah, and but there was a time in my life where I loved to cruise. I loved to cruise. But I can tell you, let me just put this scenario. You're working 13 buyers right now. Just put this in your head. You got 13 buyers, and they all want to buy right now. Right now, they want to put in offers. They want to buy. Are you going on that cruise? We ain't going on no cruise, right? But now you got 13 sellers. We're packing our bags. Because all I have to do, your name?
Vicky.
Vicky, and your name?
Colsey.
Colsey. So Colsey's going on the cruise. She just calls Vicky and says, hey, Vicky, she may not tell her how many listings she's got because you don't want Vicky to be hating on you, right? Say, I got a few listings and I need to go away for a few days. Would you mind babysitting my listings into escrow? They're not going to close by the time she gets back in 10 days. You're just going to babysit them into escrow, the ones that actually get a contract. Maybe 3-4 of them go under contract, cool. She'll pay you X number of dollars per deal, right? So it's easy when you're doing listings to live the life around you. So I'm going to give you, now, why listings? What percentage of your business do you think should be focused on listings? Anybody ever read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent? What's in here? Is this? Water? Coconut water?
Plain water.
I want some coconut water. Anybody like coconut water? I used to hate it.
The brand.
Depends on the brand, really? What's the best brand?
I don't know. I haven't found one.
I just drink it. I used to hate coconut water. Hate it, hate it, hate it. My dad grew up in Trinidad. He was Caribbean. So he liked all this stuff, crap, I was going to say. Coconut water, mangoes, all that. But now I love it. Now I love it. So what percentage of your business should be focused on listings, do you think? 60%. 60%. Who else? 75%. Who else? Any guesses?
100%.
There's no wrong answer in my class. In my class, there's no wrong answer. 100%. This is what Gary Keller, see, I was brainwashed when I got into real estate. I was completely brainwashed. I was told that I needed to focus on listings and I needed to make it all this stuff. And I didn't know any better. Nobody taught me anything different, so I just did that. So here's what Gary says. He says, there are so many great reasons to devote, how much? All of your time and effort to taking and marketing listings. Make listings your primary focus. So I read that, guys, and I just believed it. And I just went out and did it. So I focused, 96% of my business has been listings. So reason number one, we're going to get into 10 reasons. Seller listings mean more opportunities, more marketing, and more branding. So what that means is you get to put your sign in the yard, and you get to market the listing through direct mail and all that. So all that is every time that and you guys know all this stuff already, but I'm going to remind you, every single time you get a listing, you get to market yourself. Okay? When you get a new buyer, do you market yourself because you have a new buyer? Do you have a sign somewhere that says, I have a new buyer? No. When you see that sign in the yard, you know what it says? It says that the Smiths are trusting me with the sale of their house. Maybe you should too. Just a hint, right? So it's a big hint when you put that sign in the yard. I remember when I did my very first sign, and I've been into graphic design for a long time, and I had my record label. I was into doing graphic art for the stuff like that. And so when I did my first sign, I wanted the big cowboy hat on it. I wanted the big, if you've seen my stuff, my pictures everywhere, people are like, man, are you big head? I'm like, no, but I like to have that cowboy on there, And so, like, I treat myself almost like an alter ego. Like, sometimes I even talk about myself in the third person. You ever met anybody like that? The weird people, I'm kind of weird that way. So when they did my sign, he had my picture kind of small on there. I said, no, we got to bump that up. So he bumped it up. He said, is that good? I said, no, we need to make bigger. Because when you're looking at your proofs on the computer screen, you know how sometimes it's so small? So it looked like a business card on the thing. Well, finally he got it to where my chin was at the bottom of the sign and my hat was at the very top of the sign. And I was wearing my big cowboy hat. I don't have that on today. And I said, there we go. He was like, and this is God's honest truth. The word for sale was not even on the sign. It didn't fit, right? People call me up, is this a rental? Like, no, it's for sale. We just didn't have any room. He said, Knolly, what about the phone number? I said, make it tiny print. I want the picture big. So that's what he did. So when I got the signs in, I got them in and I looked, ooh, it scared me. I got shocked. Because the big old head, I'm talking about big-headed. You talk about big-headed. And because the way the hat, anyway, it was sad. So the last thing I did when I went to a listing, this honest truth, the last thing I did was I would put the sign in. Because they say, Knolly, we're going to put the sign out? No, we'll get to it. And it was the last thing I did when I was on my way out. I put the sign in and then drive off. And then, who's this big old sign in my yard? You think you're running for mayor around here? What's this thing? Get this thing out of my yard. It was crazy. But I finally got used to them. They look real good from about 2 blocks away. They look real nice, real nice. But that's the thing, guys. And even to this day, that's what I do. And you guys should use your picture more. Anybody afraid to use your picture? Don't raise your hand. But I'm just saying, use your picture more, and also get into video. A lot of times when I see your picture on a card, or your picture, you know what I think in my mind? I could trust that person. Why do we do that? It's just something we do as human beings. It's just part of being human, right? Now, reason number 2, you get more control of your time. How many of y'all know you get more control of your time when you're working with sellers? Okay, sellers are very respectful. Most of the time, they won't call you nights and weekends unless you set up the precedent that it's okay for them to do that. A lot of times, when a seller calls me after 5, you know what the first thing they do? They apologize. When's the last time a buyer called you, nights and weekends? It's not going to happen. Reason number 3, seller listings maximize your per hour compensation. Your per hour compensation. And I learned this, that you can actually work 20, 25 sellers, not that you would want to, but what your goals are your goals. Okay, I'm going to help you reach your goals. You don't have to want to do 100 deals a year. You might say, man, I don't ever want to do that. That's fine. Whatever you want to do, you should be doing that. You should be reaching your goals. But you can work 3 times as many sellers in the same span of time as buyers. Now, reason number 4, volume. Okay, it's kind of what we just talked about. This one is more your per hour compensation, because here's what I found, guys. This is real important for you to understand this. I use a 46-step listing system. Okay, 46-step listing system. What I've found is that I only personally have to do between 3 and 5 of those steps. And if you look in my book, I put all the steps in there. There's only 3 to 5 of those steps. All the other steps are delegatable, because the truth is, a listing is very administrative intensive. Okay, so 91.3% of all the duties that go into every listing you take can be delegated. Now, whether you'll delegate them or not is up to you. Okay, and some of you guys don't delegate nothing. Right? You want to do everything, and that's a way of being. And maybe you don't need to delegate because you don't have your volume up to the point where it's necessary. Does that make sense? So it's kind of your choice. 4, volume, we talked about that. 5, increase market awareness. Every single time that you do a listing, you've got to study the market to do that listing, right? You've got to look at the comps. Now, you do that some with buyers, but if you're doing a lot of listings, you are real market aware. And you start to understand things before they occur. Like, you start to know things like, hey, this neighborhood is trending up, or this neighborhood's trending down, or I think this is what's going to happen. You start intuitively knowing things like that. Reason number 6 is that listings will bring you more business. How many of y'all want more buyers? You want more buyers? Nothing wrong with it. Yeah? If you want more buyers, what's the number 1 way to get more buyers?
Have an open house.
Get more listings. If you have more listings, you would generate more buyers. Okay? Now, reason number 7, if a deal falls, you just simply pop it back active. Okay? I work buyers. I still work buyers. I was out this week showing property to buyers. Okay? They're in the 700,000 range. Thank you. What's the average sale price here, by the way? More or less. 350? Okay, so pretty good, pretty good. Does anybody know how many transactions were done at the local level last year? Any idea?
How many were sold?
Yeah, how many were closed, like closed transactions? We can come back to that. Just a curiosity. Sometimes I like to run statistics just so I know the market is. But
our median price is 380.
380? Okay.
300, 885.
300, 885. Okay.
The median.
Median.
Where we come from is a lot less.
Oh, a lot less? Okay, tell me about that.
175.
175?
Yeah.
Where are y'all from?
Pueblo, south of here.
Oh, nice.
I think
So-
191. 191 is what it was.
Oh,
just
did it go up? Because
191.
it wasn't like 175.
Okay, so it's 191?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I mean, in Austin, everything years ago, right, was, because I remember back, I would list a house anywhere. It didn't matter to me. If it was $40,000 house, in fact, when I first got in the business, I was the joke of the office. They would just throw stuff at me because they knew I would do it. They're like, oh, in fact, I overheard this. It was a true story. An agent, a friend of mine, he was on a call and he was talking it up, man. He was reeling this guy in, seller. And he says, what's the price? How much again? What are you asking? Could you repeat that one more time? He says, you know what? We've got a guy in our office that works really good in that price range. His name's Knolly Williams. Well, it was something under 30,000. Because where I started, we actually moved south, a smaller town. I had a lot of listings on for $39,900. The scripture says, don't despise small beginnings. Because the work that you do, how many of you know that you'll put more work into a deal that's $200,000 than you will a $700,000 deal?
Yeah.
You will. You will put in more work. And I know because I've gotten both of those under contract this week. I got a 200 and I got a 700 under contract. And the 700 was just frankly easy. I can communicate with the sellers better. They understand what I'm saying. I don't have to pull my language back. You see what I mean? So, and if a deal falls, you simply pop it back active. Now, if your buyer deal falls, what happens? You got to hit the pavement.
Another one, yeah.
You got to hit. But when a seller deal falls, it's a keystroke, right? You just stroke the key, an MLS, it's back on the market. Who's next, right? Now, that's reason 7. Reason 8, you can run your business from anywhere. Run your business from anywhere. And this is what my wife and I have done. I still do listings and I still do buyers. I just don't really advertise them because I call myself retired in 2015 when I paid off everything. I'm like, I'm done. I don't have no ball and chain. Nobody's telling me what to do. But you find that real estate is something that, in my understanding, is something that you'll want to do forever, really, because you'll always want to have. I've been a broker for 10 years. I'm always going to want to have my real estate license because it's fun when you're working with people you like. Like when you get to pick the kind of clients you want to be around, that's when it's fun again. Make sense? So, and my clients understand me. They know I like to travel. So I tell them right up front, and it's no problem. You can do your business from anywhere in the world. You know, I recently joined EXP. I don't know if anybody here's heard of them, but it's been 30 days I've been with EXP, and I love it because of the virtualness of it. It's the way I've always worked anyway. I can work from anywhere in the world. So when you do listings, it's easier to do that than with buyers. With buyers, it's hard to work from anywhere in the world. There's a way to do it, but it's more difficult. Reason 9, you can adopt the buyer. You get to adopt the buyer. A lot of people don't like this slide. Mm-hmm. Do y'all know what I mean by adopt the buyer?
Yep.
All right. And a lot of people have a uncomfortableness with this, but we talked about it. You know, Michael talked about it this morning, that most of the buyers will forget. I mean, most of your clients will forget you if you don't stay in touch with them. 87% is what they say. And so I always knew, I would always get calls and people would say, hey, could you list my house? And I'm looking up, I'm like, who is this guy? You know, or my assistant would say, hey, such and such called you, Derek, George, or whatever, called you. And I'd have to look, it was a buyer that bought one of my listings. You know that's the easiest sale in the world, by the way? A buyer that bought one of your listings. It's a 3-question close. 3 questions. Like, for example, Derek George called me up, a guy that I had sold in my house. I looked up his name in the computer. So many people have done this. They say, so I called him back. I said, now, Derek, you called me about selling your house, didn't you? Yeah, I'm thinking about selling my house. Now, you know I sold that house before, don't you? Yeah, I know you sold my house before. Well, Derek, you know I can sell it again, don't you? Yeah, I think you can sell it again. Well, great. Well, all we have to do, I've already seen your house. It's not like I have to come out and look at it, you know. I've sold it before. Oh, but we did a lot of upgrades. Okay, great. Well, let me come look at you. You don't have to sell. There's no selling involved. That make sense? And then reason number 10 is that the seller listings are highly leveraged. What I want you guys to be doing, and I want you to be thinking about this, back in the old days, just like it, and I heard this from Kevin Cooper, a friend of mine, and he gave this analogy, and I really like it. So back in the old days when we used to fly, we used to travel, the first person that you would see when you got on the plane was the captain, right? He would greet you. Some of us don't even remember those days, but the captain would greet you before you got on, and then he would go in the cockpit. They don't do that anymore, right? And then the last person you saw before you got out of the plane was who? The captain. He would greet you, hey, thank you for flying with us, thank you, so on like that. Well, did you see the captain during the flight? Nowadays, do you see the captain during the flight? Right? And so all I do is I educate my client to say, I'm the captain of the ship. We're flying your bird to Sold. That's our destination, right? That's where we're going? We're going to Sold, right? That's where we want to be. Okay, go, Sold, great. Well, I'm going to be in the cockpit. There's a lot of stuff that I have to do to get this bird to Sold. Make sense? Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, guess what? You're not going to see me during the journey, because if you see the captain during the flight, we got a problem. It's a big problem if we see the captain during the flight walking around, handing you peanuts and a glass of water, getting you a cocktail, maybe a beverage, a wine or something like that. We got a big, handing you a blanket? The captain? No. Captain doesn't do stuff. And so, and they say, and they understand the team concept. I've got a person that's going to take care of all your needs. But don't get it twisted. The captain was there the whole time. Even if you didn't see him, the captain was there. And they get used to not seeing you around. Don't they get used to not seeing you around. And then actually when I call my clients now, they're like, Knolly, is there a problem? What's wrong? No, I just want to check in on you. You know, no. Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah, no. We're good. So, but you actually train the client on how to relate with you. Does that make sense? And they actually appreciate it. So they actually will say things like, well, could you just have Barbara call me about it? You know, this is God's honest truth, and I say this jokingly, but it's true. When I had a team, when I had my team rocking, I tell people all the time, I'm the dumbest one on the team, because they always would want to call me to get things. And a lot of you guys make yourself, you make yourself very available, but you also make it to where people rely on you. If you have a team, and a team could just be you and an assistant, okay? Some of you are at the point where you should have an assistant already, and you probably just don't, right? Because you just don't want to go to that step. But the reality is, I was always the dumbest one on the team. So when they called me about, hey, like I didn't even know what listings I had, because I was running my team at such a high level. We would take 5, 6 listings that week. I didn't know what all of them were. I had team members doing all that stuff. So people would call me like, hey, you got a new listing on at 101 Hickory Street. I said, oh, a new listing there? Tell me about it. And he said, yeah, it's your listing. I said, well, tell me about it. How many bedrooms does it have? And I started having them tell me about that listing, They're like, man, we ain't calling you no more. Who knows about this? Oh, my assistant knows all about that one. I don't know anything about it. But I would make myself the dumbest one on the team, because the reality is, when you run a team, and when you guys get to the point, how many of y'all have a team now? Not many. How many of you have an assistant, like somebody that helps you? Okay, so we'll get more into this if y'all have Q&A around this, but most of you should have an assistant. The personality profile of most real estate agents is not the same personality profile of an administrative assistant. Okay, this is completely different personality profile. And so what you're going to find is that you're doing stuff that you absolutely hate to do, and that's what makes the business not fun. Here's what I did. I was 2 years in the business, and I said, there's some things about this business that are just not fun. And I got to tell you guys, okay, and some of y'all are older than others, and some of y'all are younger than others, okay, and some of y'all are right in the middle. It doesn't matter. There's going to be some things that you like to do, and there's going to be some things that you don't like to do. Why do the stuff that you don't like to do? What's the point? Why do it? A lot of you guys are doing $12 an hour work, and I don't understand it. You need to give yourself a raise, okay? So here's what I did. Just a thought. 2 years in the business, I said, there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing that I don't like to do. And I just wrote it all out. What do I do on a listing? Okay, pick up the phone and talk to the seller that calls in. Don't like that. I don't like talking on the phone. So I'm going to delegate that out. Well, actually, I didn't come about it this way. Here's what I did. I wrote it down from 1 to 5. Every single step that I do, like everything, you write down everything. Like call clients back when they call you. Put up signs. I didn't like putting signs in the yards. I didn't like putting up lock boxes. I didn't like taking photos of my listings. So I made all this list of everything. Not just the stuff I didn't like. I made a list of everything that I do. And I rated it from 1 to 5. 5 was like, I love it. 1 was I hate it. And I decided I'm only going to do 4s and 5s. How many of y'all know that you can create your own reality? Do y'all know that?
Sure.
Do y'all realize that? You can. And so I said, I'm only going to do 4s and 5s. And if it's a 1 to 3, I'm not going to do it, period. And that's how, I did that 2 years in the business, and that's how I've always done it, As soon as something gets to the point where, now I do like to learn things to the point where I know them, because I don't like to have an assistant do something that I don't know how to do, but I like to learn it to the point that I know it. But once I know it enough and it's not something that's in my skill set, see, some real estate agents love doing paperwork because they have a person. How many of y'all know about the DISC personality profile? Okay, so some of y'all do, some don't. You should study it, learn more about who you are, so you can kind of gravitate to do what you like more than what you don't like. Some people like doing paperwork, and honestly, I know I've got some friends of mine that they have listing agents that go list. They don't even like meeting people, like it's not their personality profile. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let me move on. So, top tools. Okay. Now, what's your one thing? What's the one thing that I can do to get more listings, such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing that I could do to get more listings, such that by doing it, everything else would be either easier or unnecessary? I asked myself this question. This comes from a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. This question does. And you can insert into get more listings. You can insert anything in there, any phrase, and then you ask yourself, what is that one thing that I could do such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary? Any thoughts? Like, what would be the one thing you could do right now today to get more listings, that if you could do that one thing, all the other stuff that you do would be either easier to do or not even necessary. Let's hear some answers.
Call your sphere.
Call my sphere of influence. That's one. It's one thing. What else? If you could pick one thing, guys, and like that was the one thing you could hold your hat on and that's it. You're going to run this for a year.
Call past clients.
Call past clients, okay? Pretty much the SOI, same thing, yeah.
Farm a new neighborhood.
Farm a new neighborhood is the one thing you get to do, okay? Let me share with you, and this is a great question. I want you guys to ponder this question. I want you to go home and think about this because this is reality. This is real. This is a very real question that you should be asking yourself. Here's what I thought of. I said, if I could pick one thing to do to get more listings, such that by doing that one thing, everything else would be either easier or unnecessary, it would be this one thing. Become famous. Become famous. If I could pick one thing to do, okay? Now, does a famous person get their calls returned? Does a famous person get their calls returned? Yes. And I'm not talking about being haughty, arrogant. Was Jesus a famous person? Very famous. Was he haughty, arrogant, prideful, boastful, big-headed? No, that's not. We have a bad view of being famous. Okay? I don't want any secret agents in this room. People should know who you are. When you call your sphere of influence and you're famous, I guarantee you get a whole nother treatment. I've even had some of my, because I teach this. I teach people how to become famous. You get a whole different treatment. I've had, even one of my students was saying this a couple weeks ago. He's like, man, even my family's treating me different. Like now that he's on YouTube and people are, he's basically becoming famous, his family members are treating him differently. He's like, I don't understand that. A lot of famous people have a book, don't they? You know, you get on Oprah, they're like, and my new book, and the other person's like, and I just wrote a book about, I'm like, everybody's got a book. I'm going to write a book. And so I wrote a book for sellers. I call it Consider It Sold, the complete book for sellers, you know. And one of my students, I would always tell him, just like I'm in class today, right? I would always tell him, you need to write you a book. You need to write a book. And so I call him back 3 weeks later. How's the book coming along? Well, I'm at chapter 1, page 1. Okay? A month later. Chapter 1, page 1. 2 months later. Chapter 1, page 1. And apparently writing books is hard. Apparently. It is. It is difficult, especially when you write your first one. The rest of them after that are easier. Trust me. And actually the reason why I wrote this was to leverage my time. Wasn't just to become famous, but you can actually reverse engineer. How many of y'all know it's not that difficult to become famous in the United States of America? Did y'all know that? I mean, people are becoming famous overnight with viral videos and all this stuff, right? It's not that difficult. And if you look the part, because here's what's a famous person or what's a mega agent got that you ain't got?
Listings. Notoriety.
Listings. I like it. Woo! Listings. She went right to it. I like that. Write that down. You're right about that. The only thing but really, from a standpoint of being able to know the business, that's good. To work the client, to help the client to achieve their goals, any of y'all could do just as well as I can. Okay, it's just that in what I've done is I've gotten the seller to believe that what I offer is better because I'm on a book. That's it. It's there's nothing else. And a lot of our biggest challenge is just to get over that hurdle where the seller would just say, I'm ready, let's go, right? Now, the reason I wrote it, though, also was to leverage my time, because I noticed, and you guys might notice this too, that a lot of times when you go on listing appointments or when you're on a listing call, you're saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, okay? Buyers, the same thing. So somebody's deciding to sell. I wrote chapter 1, deciding to sell, some of the reasons why people decide to sell their home. Okay, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. But here's some of the reasons why people decide to sell. So if I have a seller that's in the deciding to sell stage, they really don't want to talk to me because they're thinking about it, right? It's like, hey, I'm just thinking about it, and they'll even tell you if they know you. They're like, hey, I'm just thinking about it now. Don't, but what would if I were to? I'm just thinking about it. Okay, so I say, oh, you're thinking about selling? Here's my book all about selling your home. And I want you to go ahead and take that and read chapter 1. It's going to be all about thinking about selling your home. See? And then I back away. So now I'm not selling them, they're self-selling. See, people want to self-discover. They want to go to Amazon and read about it. They don't want the manufacturer of the product to call them and tell them about it. They want to go to Amazon, read the reviews, get comfortable with it, watch a few things. Then they're ready to buy. Make sense? So that's the first chapter. Then the second chapter goes into marketing your home for sale. Okay? How are we going to do that? Then third chapter, pricing your home. What goes into pricing? How do we price it? Getting your home ready for the market, right? So after I've already taken the listing, right, sit down with the client, take the listing. I say, now, Jim, we want to get your home ready for sale, so what I recommend you read chapter 4. It's going to have all my checklists and everything for getting your home ready for sale. When you're ready, call me up. We'll send a photographer out, take the photos, okay? So they're self-educating themselves. And a lot of times, frankly, when you're at a listing appointment, you spend an hour with them, an hour and a half, whatever it is, how much of what you tell them will they remember? Very little, because it's new information for them, right? Well, by me having it here, I just say, hey, go to chapter 4. It's got everything you need to. And each chapter is only about 6 pages, so I make it real short. Then, choosing the right agent. Of course, that's going to lead them right to me, right? Handling showings. Now their home is on the market. So we're going to go right to chapter 6. I'm going to say, hey, now that we're on the market, I want you to read chapter 6 on handling showings. That's going to show you all about how to prepare for the showings and all that kind of stuff. Now, chapter 7 is one of my favorites, working with offers. Because we just got an offer in. And your name is? Charla. So I call Charla, I said, Charla, we just got an offer in. I think it's a great offer, but I want you, Charla, to look at it. You know, y'all look at it together and just call me up and see what you think. Now, by the way, I want to make sure you read chapter 7 as you're reviewing the offer. Right? So they go to chapter 7. It's like 6 pages. It talks about, the option, all the stuff that, sales price, how the inspections are done and all that stuff. So they read the offer, they read chapter 7, and they call me back. They really don't have any questions. So now I don't have to spend an hour with them on the phone reviewing the offer or in person with them because they are self-educated, right? And then chapter 8, closing on the sale. It prepares them for the close. So really what this does is it eliminates a lot of my time. See, a lot of people, what they don't realize, where'd my clicker go? Oh. What a lot of people don't realize in this business is if you give sellers the right tools, not only can you help yourself, but you can help them, okay? And you can cut a lot of your time down. Because if you're going to start doing more business, you don't want to spend more time doing more business, do you? How would you like to do double the business you're doing now but spend the same amount of time you're doing? That's what I'm talking about, okay? And handy tools like this will help you. So one of my students was like, Knolly, this was years ago, he says, can I just use your book? And I was like, what, my book? And I didn't license it back then, now I do. I said, I've been telling you how to write this thing. I even gave you the temp. So I said, you know what, I'm going to license it. So now what I do, I license it to agents. So this is an agent in San Antonio. This is one in California. It's another one in California. They put sponsors on the back and covers the licensing fee, right? And each sponsor just pays $99. Imagine if your home inspector, your painter, your handyman got to go with you on every listing appointment for a full year for $99. It's a no-brainer, right? So they easily pay it to be on the back because if I'm at the listing, I say, hey, now, Charlotte, remember those broken doorknobs? Here's my handyman. And the carpets, we talked about getting those cleaned. Here's my carpet cleaner. Oh, and we also talked about that back orange bedroom. We need to paint that one. Here's my painter. See, makes it easy. So that's number one, a book. Famous people have a book. I have a book, okay? Now, pre-listing package. What I call this is really, a pre-listing package is really more of a, now how many of y'all have a pre-listing package, by the way? Okay, so I think of it more like a press kit. So if I'm going to go out for a movie role or something like that, I'm going to have a press kit that just talks more about, unless I'm like, some of you guys are going to become so well known that you don't need anything. But I did listings without a press kit, and really you don't need a pre-listing package. You do not need one. You do not. And you'll be able to take listings without one. But if you're hot without one, you'll be on fire with one. Because it just makes it so much easier for you. And the biggest thing that I like about it is that when I get to the listing appointment, I really don't have to sell myself at all. Why? Because I've already pre-sold them on everything about, top 10 reasons to list your home with Knolly team. Top 4 reasons that homes don't sell. This is another great piece that I use. And what to do about it. This is if they're thinking about interviewing more than one agent, I want them to go through, do you know what questions you should be asking? Most people don't. Well, here's my top 10 questions to ask any realtor before you list your house with them. And here's my answers, you know. And then at the bottom, it's how many did they get right, you know. Now, how many did I get right? It's 10 out of 10. It's my quiz. Yeah. It's my quiz, right? So you guys just come up with your own, right? Preparing your home for sale, showing your home, checklist, right? And then I have the homework packet. Now, this is money. Pay attention now. I don't want to see any dozers offers in here right now. When I get the yellow pages out, I want you to. So here's what I do. I give homework. Why my home is special. Home features that we really enjoyed, the type of person that we think would really love our home, and so on, right? Then on the second page, I want them to list all the upgrades. I want them to really think about it. And then I have them fill out 2 pages of check boxes that I'm going to use, or my assistant, to put on MLS, right? Now, you can walk through the house with a checklist, and that's fine. You could easily do that, right? But what I tell a seller is, I say, Charla, you know, you've lived at your home now for 9 years, right? 9 years? And I've been here for, you know, an hour. Now, you're going to be far more better at knowing your home than I am. So now I used to fill these out myself, Charlotte, but what I would find is that I got a few of them wrong. You know, a checkbox here, a checkbox there, it's easy to do. But you're not going to get it wrong because it's your house, right? And it takes about 20 minutes. Now, would you like me to fill it out, or would you prefer to? 100 times out of 100, they're going to tell you that they'll do it, right? And that's another time saver for you. You get this back, they scan, send it right back to my assistant, and she puts it on, does all the stuff. Now, here's the money piece. Remember I said there's money in here? When you have, like I always have my assistant say, Knolly's going to be out there 2 o'clock on Thursday or whatever the time is. Make sure you have the homework packet filled out and 2 keys ready for him when he gets there. Now, I walk in the door, they got the homework packet filled out and 2 keys on the table. What's that mean? I already got it. I don't have to do anything. I say, so you know what I'm going to do? Now, this is a little quiz. Your name again is? Colsey. So Colsey has the homework packet filled out. She's the seller. I walk in. The homework packet's on the table like it should be, a good seller that she is. And a lot of this is to see, because if the paperwork isn't filled out and there's no keys, what does that mean?
They're still interviewing?
You got a little work to do. Right. You got a little work to do. So you go in, it's filled out, 2 keys are there, and what's your reaction going to be? This is a quiz. What's your reaction going to be when you see that?
Fantastic.
Happy. What else? Who else? What's your reaction going to be when you see that? What would you do? You saw that on the table.
Get excited.
Get excited. That's exactly right. Happy, get excited. All right. So it's going to be Colsey, right? So I'm going to say, Colsey, can I see that? Wow. And I'm going to look at it for about 30 seconds. Okay? And because this is, Colsey, you know what? It takes time to do this. And I'm going to say, Colsey, this is amazing. You wrote this? You wrote this, didn't you? Wow. Whoa. Look at these upgrades. I'm going to have fun selling this. Wow. You see what I'm doing? I'm reinforcing with her that she did the right thing. And by the way, the stuff that we learned in kindergarten and how we felt in kindergarten, did y'all know you never really grew up? They just pretend like we grew up, but we never grew up. We love having those 5 stars. We love having a star on our paperwork and going home and showing it to mommy and daddy, right? So when I go to the listing appointment, I'm mommy and daddy. And I'm letting her know that she did a great job in doing this. Plus, it's reaffirming that she's going to list with me. Does that make sense? A lot of what you got, see, I'm already giving her the paperwork back. A lot of what we do, guys, is psychology. You already know that you're going to do a great job for the seller. You already know that. So your job is really just to win them over and get the listing, right? Now, a lot of this is having more at-bats. We'll get to that later, too. So that's, and then the third thing is a pre-listing video. Every one of y'all should have one. Pre-listing video. And, of course, it's all digital now. It's not going to come like this anymore, right? But you have a pre-listing video. So essentially what you have is you have a book, a press kit, and a movie. Do you look famous? Yeah. Absolutely. And those things are not difficult to put together, okay? Now, I say live your life by design. live your dream life now. How many of y'all would like to earn $250,000 a year, work 20 to 30 hours a week or less, have nights and weekends off, take 4 to 5 vacations a year, and be debt-free? Raise your hand if you like that. Okay? That's the lifestyle that we want, guys. And I found that it's very difficult. I'm going to say this again. I found that it's very difficult to live on less than $250,000 a year. Some of y'all are having a great time living off $100,000 or even less than that. I have a difficult time doing it. I enjoy life probably maybe not too much. I enjoy life. And it costs a lot of money to live in this country. It really does. I mean, if you want to do a lot of stuff. There's people that spend that much, a month. And I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying to live and maybe your goal is $10,000 a month. Okay? Maybe your goal is $20,000 a month. How are we doing we're doing good? We're doing good? Okay. So what I'd like to do, guys, right here, and then we're probably going to, let me see how we're doing on time. I want to spend about 12 minutes or so sharing with you how to get all the stuff that I just mentioned at no cost to you. Would that be okay? Sure. Okay? So I'm going to spend about 12 minutes on that. The problem is that I've found is that most agents just don't know, they don't succeed at becoming well known. They don't succeed. They try it, it's difficult. But what if you could remove 100% of the risk? Now, you could do that by easily duplicating everything that I have in my system in your business, okay? And I say because a lot of times it's just how you present yourself is how it is, okay? You go from being looking like an average agent to looking like a mega agent overnight. Now, don't reinvent the wheel. Knolly's done it for you. I call it the Overnight Celebrity Success or Listing Success Toolkit. It's all the stuff that you see up there. Now, this is an example. I was at a seminar, this is in Cape Cod, and there's a guy in the crowd that he came to the seminar, and listen to this. He had never done a listing ever before. Nor had he ever worked with a buyer before. He had never done a real estate deal. Brand new agent. Anybody like that in here? Okay? Brand new agent. Could you guess which one it was? It's hard to guess, right? Could be any of them. It's this guy right here, Richard Anderson. I didn't know that he had never done a real estate deal. Of course, he wasn't going to volunteer to everybody that he was brand new. And here's what Richard Anderson said. He went ahead and picked this up at the seminar, used some of the last money he had because he didn't have a lot of money. He said, because of Knolly's book and Listing System Success Toolkit, I was able to get my first listing, yes, my very first. I was one of 6 agents interviewed, but because of the listing system, the book, and my approach, the owners chose to work with me. Oh yeah, the best part, the house sold for $539,000. Okay, so Richard put in his pocket $15,000, right? Because he picked up the system, and he was one of 6 agents, brand new, never done a listing before. And I always tell people, don't volunteer that you're brand new. You don't have to wear that like a badge of honor. You know, when I just first got my license, you know what my title was on my business card? Some people put realtor, some people put different things, right? I didn't put mega agent because I wasn't that. I put listing specialist. Listing specialist. How many people ask me how many houses I've sold or how long I've been in the business? I'm a listing specialist. Can you specialize in this business? Can you choose to do that? Can you have never sold one house but choose to specialize in what you want to do? Of course you can. And that's what I did from the very beginning. Now, the truth, you don't have to know anything about how to become a local celebrity because I've already generated the easy blueprint for you. Now, it's all the tools, and this is what I've got for you guys. If you have this, you should have this already. This is the form right here. You don't have to use it now, but we'll get to it in a minute. I want to show you how you're going to get it at no cost. But every one of you should have this flyer that kind of goes through it. So the book itself is a $49.97 value. It took me 300 hours of time to write it. Now, if you hire a ghostwriter, anybody ever hired a ghostwriter? They charge $1 a word, about $1 a word. This book is 13,000 words, okay? 13,000 words. So a ghostwriter is going to cost you about 10 grand to write a book like this, okay? And it's well worth it, guys, because think about it. You get one listing, how much are you going to make? All that money back. Now, also the pre-listing, and what I did was I put the whole thing in Microsoft Word. So all you got to do, if you want to change it, you can, but I made it vanilla. So I made it to work in any market, and you can change it if you want to, or you cannot. Some people don't even change a thing; they just go to press. But I say, bring it up in Word, make a few changes here and there, and then When you got yours, oh, there's one. When you got yours, I don't think it was so easy to edit.
No.
Now, because she got hers before I didn't even know what I was doing. I was like, well, I'll put it out there. But I had my stuff everywhere, right? You had to delete this, delete that. Now you don't have to do any of that. So this is Juanita, the ultimate guide to selling your home. Can I keep this?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I like to collect these. Thank you, Juanita. So now the pre-listing package is also in Microsoft Word, so you can you give it an improvement. You bump my picture off, you put yours on, you just upgraded it just like that, right? That's a $1,000 value if you have somebody customize one for you. My virtual pre-listing presentation, now you can't pop my head out of the video and put yours, but you get my full script. So if you want to, you can just, say everything I said. You also get job descriptions for all your team members, and that's a $497 value. That's going to save you hundreds of hours, and the editable team operations manual. Okay, so the thing is, as you start to build a team, and I want you guys to be thinking about that, you don't have to build this big team. Some of y'all don't want that, but just somebody to help you, right? Make sense? This is going to be the team training manual that's going to help you do that. So it's all these things. It's a $79.85 value, okay, everything that you get with all the bonuses. Now, here's a question. I asked 3 questions. Number 1, if you could spend $7,985, now it's not going to cost you that, obviously. But if it did cost that, and all this did was pay off your mortgage, would it be worth it? If all it did was pay off your mortgage. Now, would you pay $7,985 to pay off all your debt? Some of y'all are like, I don't have no debt, so it wouldn't apply to you. But I had a lot of debt. I was like, yeah, sign me up for that. So those of you that have more than that in debt, would you settle all your debts for $7,985? Of course. Now, would you pay $7,985 just to double your sales? That's it. Just double the sales you have now. Would that be worth it for you? Well, as we said, the online pricing, it's a $7,985 value. It's $19.97 regular price. We sell it for $9.97. Okay, $9.97. But at the seminar, people always say, well, what am I going to get if I get it today? We always hear that question. So I would say if you get it today, it's $697. You're going to get $300 off right here at the seminar. And you get all these bonuses. And again, you can do 3 payments if you want. 3 payments of $247. Okay? Now I'm going to get to the part where how you're going to get it for free. So it's your own book. You're going to plug these tools in. It's going to save you 300 to 400 hours of doing this on your own. The whole key here, guys, is to really help you to kind of catapult you to that famous setting, and then you start doing things from there, like YouTube videos, if you feel comfortable doing it. You get a lifetime license, so this stuff you can use for life. It's not like a recurring, like a monthly fee or anything like that. It's just a once and done. It's called it's a copyright. So my works are copywritten. So it's a derivative license. So we give you a copyright. To steal somebody's work is a $150,000 fine with the U.S. copyright. But if you get a license to do it, it's a license to steal. You can use it. It's digital delivery. Okay. So here's another thing I look at is a virtual assistant. If you had a virtual assistant 24/7 and all they did was generate new seller prospects, provide guidance to your existing prospects, if they empower your current clients to recruit more business for you, and you pay them $697 once, and they work for you for the next 20 years, that'd be a pretty good deal, wouldn't it? Here's another thing I like to do. I'm at the closing table, okay? And I take about 5 copies of my book to the closing table. And at the closing table, I tell my seller, your name? Sonia. I say, Sonia, did I do everything I promised to do to get your home sold? I did, didn't I? See how my head starts going like this? I did, didn't I? Well, Sonia, what I want to do, I want to give you 5 copies of my book, because remember this book helped you out throughout the whole process? I'm going to give you 5 copies, so anybody you come across, you go ahead and pass that out to them. Would that be okay with you? Of course she's going to want, because she's going to be bragging on you. People love to, oh, this is my realtor. They're bragging on you, right? And they feel like they're connected with somebody that is known or whatever the case might be. Now, if I gave her 5 business cards, what would happen to them? Probably not in the trash because they got the cowboy hat on it now. Don't forget that. But probably worse, they go in the purse, and the bottom of those purses can be really, you don't want to end up there. So and the books are only $3 to print, $3, okay? So I just invested $15 with her, right? Some of my students, they get all the printing and everything done from sponsors. I'll show you that in a minute. So essentially, how are you going to get it free? So we talked about on the back of the book, there's this template, right? Now, you get 6 sponsors, and I always say a handyman, inspector. Can y'all see that from here? You can see that one. A house cleaner, carpet cleaner, a mover, and a painter. Just that's all the 6 you need. That's it, right? And you send it out to maybe 2 or 3 of them, and the first one that comes back and says, hey, I want it $99 for a year. I call this an annual thing, so I wouldn't do it. It's not one time, even though you're only paying me once, right? Now, no cost to you. So and then there's a spot right there. If you have an attorney or a mortgage company that you do business with, that's a $2.99 spot. It's an advertisement, okay? So it doesn't get into RESPA or any of those violations. It's an advertisement that they're doing. So it's $2.99. So you get now here's what I provide you with: a proven call script, a follow-up email script, a vendor enrollment form, a back cover template. So you're going to get a template that you just go into Word and change their names out, because I've already done it. You get 6 yeses and you're done. Okay? Bless you. So you earn $900 a year. For every year that you're using the system, you're earning $900 a year. Okay? Even though you only pay me $697. Why would you need the $900 a year? To print your books. Right? You get 25 books a month for free. Printed. Okay? Those are the books you're giving out. So your investment is $697. You earn $900 a year. So if over the next 10 years you're going to get $9,000 coming in from your. So it's really it's what we call in the business a no-brainer. You know, and I've designed it to be that way so that it doesn't really require you to come out of your own pocket, because I don't like paying for stuff either. So some agents might think, I'm already established, I'm successful as it is, how will this help me? Well, look at Tom Miller. The response to the book has been phenomenal. In less than 3 weeks, I have 10 advertisers to cover the cost, and I now have the cost to print, how many? 750 books. Wow, your overnight celebrity listing toolkit has helped me skyrocket ahead of the pack in my office. We look forward to a fantastic year. 20 plus years of experience, started using the book, and it's catapulted after 20 years in the business. Okay, so those of you might be thinking, man, I'm already successful. Well, look at, this is what Tom did. Some agents might think, I don't know how to do this or how this will help me to compete against agents who are already well known. Like, man, there's already agents well known in our market. How am I going to compete against them? Well, look at the Coopers. With the help of Knolly's overnight celebrity listing toolkit, this first year we did $650,000 in GCI. That's what they did in commissions. In fact, our book just helped us take a $380,000 listing last week. We met the seller on a trip to Lake Tahoe. We found out that she wants to sell her Sacramento area home, gave her a copy of our book. She just called to say she is listing with us, even though her sister is a real estate agent. You hear that? Her sister is a real estate agent. One of the primary reasons she says she decided to go with us is because we have our own book. Listen, who would be more famous or well known than somebody's own sister, right? So here's you're competing against your own family, and you're getting, or somebody else's family, and they're getting it. We're not getting the sound on this one, Ro. Was that one we had to turn up? I want you guys to hear this guy, because he's excited, and I've never even met him in person. I've never even talked to him on the phone. But he sent me this video because he's super excited about this thing. And this is like a 60-second video.
Hey Knolly, Joe Boudreaux, Keller Williams Realty Bayou Partners in South Louisiana. Wanted to shoot this video for you, man. We love the book. It's the best thing we've ever done. Let me show it to you. Sold, The Ultimate Guide to Selling Your Home by Joe and Lauren Boudreaux. My wife and I have a real estate team here, and we love it. Here's my sponsors on the back: closing attorneys, mortgage companies, inspection, all that good stuff. We absolutely love it. We are using it. We're dropping it off to for sale by owners. We've got a script. We're giving it out to everybody and anybody. Every day I'm mailing copies out to people. It is so amazing. So thank you so much to anybody out there that's thinking of doing it. Do it. We got our cover designed by a local guy, and then I got it proofread by a college professor. Just charged me a couple of bucks to actually proofread it, make sure all the punctuation's there, because here we have parishes and not counties, so we had to do a few things that are a little bit different. But thanks again for it. We love it. It's brought us so many listings, worth every penny. Have a blessed day.
So that's I feel like giving him a round of applause, but I've never met him, and I've never even talked to him on the phone. I really appreciate him doing that, but there's so many of them like that I get. He's just one that I thought you guys would enjoy. Also, you get the support hotline, because some people might be like, well, what if I get stuck on this or that? It's Microsoft Word, so you're not going to. But if you do, I've got a gal that's what she does. She's my product specialist. So you're going to be able to get that phone support. If you need it, you call us up. You get, if you get stuck. If that wasn't amazing enough, we're going to get free lifetime updates. This is something we didn't do in the past, but when I'm speaking, we don't do it online, but if you buy it at the thing here, we basically, anytime that we update this thing, you get it. Any updates that we do, we come out with a Spanish version, which we are going to do. It's not going to be an additional fee. It's the same price. Okay, you already paid the license. It's a lifetime upgrades. Now, the other thing is, so what I say is I had to go through 10 years of trial and error in order to discover how to become a local celebrity, but you won't have to, because I've done it for you already. I'm giving all of my best secrets to you. So it's basically you get those updates that for free as well. Now, how do you get it? You just go to, everything's on this form here, and you guys could do it like during the break or whatever, but you go to knolly.com/toolkit, and anybody got their cell phone with them? Let me see those cell phones. Let me borrow yours. So anybody got their phone, wave it up like this, okay? Because this is actually mobile friendly. So you just go to knolly.com/toolkit on this, okay? And you can get it right there from this little device right there. So now you're going to go through these screens. It says choose your payment plan, full payment or payment plan, your information, your credit card information, and then you hit that green submit button, right? And then you'll see this gal right here. So what I'm doing, if any of you guys that do get it, the first ones that get it, I'm going to be giving this CD right here. How many of y'all still have a CD player, by the way? If you don't have one, I'll get you the digital version. This is because some people say short sales might be coming back. I don't know. I hope they don't. It would be nice if they do, but I don't. Who knows? So this is a great audio that's helped a lot of people. Actually, the paycheck that you'll never spend, this is the audio to what he was listening to on the short sale side. So just come up. You've got to show me that girl, because that's going to be on the last page of the order form. That girl going like this. You just show that to me on your screen, and you get the CD. Okay? Any questions that y'all have about this part? Pretty crystal clear, right? Pretty clear. Okay, so that's it. Now, what we're going to do at this point, what I'd like to do, who's ready for a break? Has it been good so far? Have you guys learned a few things? Okay, so what I want to do, how are we doing on time? Is that clock correct? Okay, good. So what I want to do right now, I want us to take a 10-minute break, and then what we're going to do, guys, this is going to be the funnest part. This is where you guys, because I don't know when I'm going to be in Colorado Springs again. Okay, how long has it been since I've been here? Like 10 years. Okay, so I don't know when I'm going to be back, but I do know that I'm here now. I know that for sure. So if you guys have any questions for me, I've taken over 1,000 listings the last 10 years. I've seen a lot of stuff, and I'm here for you. So this Ask Knolly portion, this is pretty much where you guys get to just let me help you in your business. Make sense? With whatever questions you have, ask Uncle Knolly, and he'll give you the best advice he can. Okay. See, that's the third person again. You remember we talked about that? Okay, 10-minute break. Be back in 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Accept the break. Okay, questions. Who's got the first question for me? Just open questions like about your business, you thinking about hiring somebody, building a team, whatever.
To get the advertisers for the book?
Yeah. Okay, so the question is it easy to get advertisers for the book? Okay. Some people have, I'll be honest, some people have had difficulty doing it. I don't use myself as an example very much, because most people think, oh, well, you're Knolly Williams. It's like, I wasn't born Knolly Williams. Like, I had to create all this stuff, but yeah, most people find it very, very simple. If you go to successwithlistings.com/case studies, case-studies, it's a long URL, sorry. successwithlistings.com/case studies. You'll see a lot of people in there. You can call them up or email them and talk to them. And they even give you a testimony about how easy it was for them to get their sponsors. Because I give you the template, it's a copy paste. All you do is you copy paste the email that you're going to send, and you just change it up a little bit. And what I like to do, if I'm going after a painter, I like to send it to 3 painters, and I like to CC all of them in the same, to where they see each other. And I'm like, the first one that says yes gets it. And so it creates a little friendly competition that way too. So that, yeah, it's I give you the call script, the email script, and everything to make it easy. What I say is, if you just try it out. I mean, it's a 30-day money-back guarantee, right? So try it out. If you call people and you can't get them on board, or you can't make it happen, we just give you your money back, right? I mean, I'm not going to risk a bad reputation. You know, people love us, right? And so we want to continue that. So it works. It works. So yeah, it's been easy for most people. Yeah, it's pretty easy. In fact, let me just share this story real quick, and then I'll get off that point. We were at a seminar in, where were we at? My wife it was either Phoenix, it wasn't Phoenix, it was, anyway, one of these cities. It was, I think it was in Vegas. We were at a seminar, and we were talking and everything, and halfway through, I'm talking about the book and how you can get it free. This guy just bolted out the room. I'm like, man, he must not have, did I offend him, or what did I say? Well, he comes back in the room. 15 minutes later, he's like, done. I already called my people, and they already signed up, and here's your money. And then he paid. Back then, we used to take, like a year ago, we would do credit cards at the event before we got technologically advanced. Except the www, right? I don't know if y'all tried it. If you use www.knolly.com, it won't work. But if you use knolly.com, it works. We're fixing that, but that's the way it is now. So yeah, it's pretty easy. Next, somebody else.
Knolly, so when did you decide you need to hire your first assistant or your buyer's agent? At that point, when did you first feel like you needed that and you could afford it?
Yeah, so the question is, when did I hire my first agent, my first assistant, and when did I feel like, right, my first assistant, and when did I feel like I needed it? So I hired my first full-time, part-time, she's part-time, assistant. All my assistants have always been part-time, by the way. I hired my first part-time assistant when I was 8 months in the business, okay? 8 months in the business. And the reason, and I always tell my students, you will know when you need an assistant. You will know. And I had this, it was overwhelmed. Okay, anybody ever felt overwhelmed? Now, sometimes you get overwhelmed and then you get underwhelmed. It's feast or famine for some of you guys. So you got a lot going on and then you don't have much going on, right? So here's what I always say about this assistant thing. There's a lot of ways to do it. The first people that you ever hire are admin people. Okay, that's your first hire. You know, your second hire is a buyer agent. And then your third hire is listing agent. And then your other hires will be, it would be derivatives of this, okay? But just talking for where you guys are right now, and what I say by first hire, that doesn't mean that you hire an admin and then you hire a buyer agent. You might have 3 admins before you ever hire a buyer agent, because they're constantly taking stuff off your plate. Does that make sense? Here's the thing, though. In order to justify, and in my book, just so you guys know, in the book, I have a whole section on building your team, and I have the compensation, because a lot of people want to know, how do you pay them, you know? So I have 5 compensation models for your admin. It's chapter 20, your first hire, an administrative assistant, and I go through the 5 different compensation models, the 5 different options of how to pay those people. But what I would say, though, is if you don't have a steady pipeline, okay, that's the key to every one of y'all's business, is a steady pipeline. Let me say it again. It's a steady pipeline. Okay? When I was in the music business, it took me 9 months to get a paycheck. So when we put an artist in the studio, it was 9 months before we got receive revenue, because we had to record the album, and then we had to do a lot of marketing, just like a movie. You spend all your money on the front end, and then you have box office. But they might have started spending money on the movie a year ago, and then you try to make your money back. So in real estate, you must imagine my thrill when I got in, and I was like, I can get paid in like 3 months. Like if I'm working with, if I get a listing and it sells in 30 days and then I get paid in 30 days, wow. That, to me, that was like phenomenal. But what I also had to couple that with was a pipeline. So I knew that early on, and this was within 8 months in the business, I knew that I had to have 18 listings. That was my number. I always had to have 18 listings in order to always have closings, okay? ABC, always be closing. So in order to do that, I had to have a pipeline. Because if you have 3 listings come in, 3 listings sell, then you don't have anything for 3 months. That's what we call feast or famine. And when you're in feast or famine, it's hard to have somebody that relies on you for a paycheck, right? So what you've got to do there is you pay per deal, okay? PPD. I'm just going to, I mean, that's not a real thing, but sometimes I do that when I'm teaching. Just makes me look smart, right? A PPD. Knolly said we need PPD. I don't know what that is. But a pay per deal. You pay per deal. So you pay a person $250 to close your deals, okay? Now, truthfully, when you're in feast or famine, you don't want to pay anybody nothing, because you want that $250 for yourself. But what's really happening is you're robbing yourself and you're robbing your family. Let me say it again. You're robbing yourself and you're robbing your family. You're robbing your family of the time that they could have with you, okay? And you're robbing yourself of other production that you could be doing, of producing. And you're saying to yourself, I'm worth $12 an hour, or I'm worth $15 an hour, or whatever it is that you would pay. Okay, so I always recommend, and the pay per deal is going to look something like $250 to $295, somewhere maybe $350. Depends. It's a transaction coordinator that just closes on your transactions per deal. Okay. Now, at some point, though, you're going to get to the point where, like for me, it was when I had at least 10 listings all the time. I needed an assistant to help me, and my assistant did everything. I mean, everything. Because I got really good at delegating. At first, you'll be very bad at delegating, because it's like, do you need help, Knolly, putting that in MLS? Oh, no, nobody puts it in MLS the way I do. I'm real good at putting it in MLS. Well, can I create the flyer for you? Oh no, I'm the best at making flyers. Look how I do my flyer. And you'll get to the point though where you realize nobody cares. They just don't. They don't care that you did the flyer this way versus that way. I mean, it's got to look nice, right? But at the end of the day, creativity has many hats, and it doesn't matter if it's your sometimes it's just ego. Like, I do it all. I'm the one-man show. So, but when you hire a person, when you get to the point where you say, I've got 4 hours a day of work, I actually have work, answering the phones and whatever else is going on, then you could say, okay, I'm going to pay that person $14 an hour, or whatever you decide to pay. I use my Outdesk. So I have 2 virtual assistants that live in the Philippines, and they work through my Outdesk for like $9 an hour or something like that. And I've had one guy for 4 years, and the other gal I've had for 3 years, or the other, maybe it's 4 and 5. Anyway, they're the first people I've ever hired, and they're still with me. Let me give you an example. My first assistant that I ever hired, she had these are people I like to hire. Gary Keller. I don't know if y'all know this. I was somebody asked me about my real estate history. I started with RE/MAX. Within a few years, I became one of the top 20 RE/MAX agents in the state of Texas. Okay, big state. I was one of the top 20. I went to Keller Williams. I was recruited to Keller Williams by Gary Keller. Okay, they knew I was number 7 in the city. There was about 9,800 agents in the city of Austin. I was ranked number 7 by Austin Business Journal based on my production. I was number 7 out of 9,800. So when that happens, when you get those of you that have been in that place, top 10, top 20, you start getting some interesting type recruiting activities, such as Gary Keller wants to meet you. Cool. I've been using all this stuff for 5 years at RE/MAX. So I'd like to meet him because I like the book he wrote, right? So I was kind of that kind of thing. But I was intrigued, and I joined Keller Williams, spent 10 years at Keller Williams. Now I'm at EXP, been there 30 days, only 30 days, brand new to EXP. Absolutely incredible, love it. So that's kind of my trajectory in the real estate space. But the first person that I hired, and Gary used to tell me all the time, you don't teach this stuff, but I still do, was a person that was retired. I love retired people. Okay, so this person that I hired, Barbara, was 62 years old when she started working for me. She just retired working for me, I think last year, maybe the year before. She was 75 or something. She was like, Knolly, I just don't feel like doing it. I was like, Barbara, it's okay, you can, you know. So she stayed with me my whole career. I hired her 8 months in, and she was with me pretty much my career. My second person that I hired that person about a year after I hired Barbara. That was at first I hired Barbara to do admin, and then I hired Morris to do admin on the outside. So he would do like signs and lock boxes and just take care of my inventory, customer calls, stuff like that. He worked with me till he retired. Carolyn was my third assistant. She's still with me. Okay, so my people just don't leave. I don't know if that's good, or I don't know how to fire them or what, but we work well together. I make good hires from the beginning. And all the people that I've hired are still with me, if that makes sense, right? So as far as admin, except the ones that have kind of played out. And I did retire technically in 2015. And my definition of retirement is being able to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it. That's retirement for me. Some people it's like, I'm gonna be on the beach and just watching movies. I can't do that. I like teaching classes. If you call me and you want to sell your house, I've capped every year since I've been retired in real estate. I've been retired 3 years. But I've capped every year. In other words, I've sold enough real estate to cap, and those of y'all that know what that is. And it's like people are like, well, aren't you still working? I'm like, yeah, I kind of am still working, but I don't do any advertising, no marketing. I'm not doing all the stuff I teach because I'm not trying to build a big business anymore. I've done that, and I've had a great time doing it, you know. But now it's more of me paying it forward and sharing what I've learned with others. Another thing, just real quick. I'll say this real quick. There's another book. Oh, here we go. So this is other stuff that I love to do. So this is a little off topic. So I have a book called The Secret to Knowing God's Will for Your Life. As a Bible teacher, 30 years, this is what I like to teach, like how to know what God has put you on earth to do. I believe everybody has a specific purpose. Now, I also believe that through your real estate career, you can fulfill that purpose. A lot of people don't realize that. It's like, well, I was put on earth. No, it's not so specific that you were put on earth maybe to do a specific assignment. Maybe it is. Okay, but real estate can actually facilitate the door for you to do that. A lot of people don't realize that. This is free also. Go to Knolly.com, you can download it. The Little Book of Prayer, 101 Prayers to Pray When You Don't Know What to Say. People that are into prayer wrote that book. And then Discovering Your Divine Destiny. This is Juanita's copy. This is not even out yet, but it's 121 questions to ask yourself so you can discover what it is you're here for. What's your ultimate purpose? You know, this is the kind of stuff I like to teach, right? And this is going to be also free download on Knolly.com. So just going back to that, but like even when you guys get to the point where you pay off everything and you're self-sufficient, you're still going to want to help people, right? You're still going to want to, and it's just you wake up in the morning and say, okay, Lord, what do you got for me today? He says, well, I want you to help this person sell their house. Well, I mean, you can look at what you do even right now as a ministry. You know, you don't have to look at it as this hardcore job. I got to make this happen. You know, some of you, I'm going to say this. Some of you are in feast or famine, because you like the adrenaline rush of it. Okay, it's an addiction. There's some people, not maybe you guys in here, but some people like that addiction. It's like, you know, and I have family members this way, and I used to be exactly this way. Sometimes I'm still that way, but it's like you get all the way to the 11th hour. And then you make it happen, you get a deal, and then you can pay your mortgage, or you can do this or that. And so feast or famine for you has become a way of, it's psychologically being the hero. You don't have to live that way. There's another way to live. People have discovered it. I've discovered it, and many others have as well, where you can live in this life and do whatever you decide you want to do. You are not a slave or a victim to life circumstances. Does that make sense? These people, they had a question, but I was answering their question. Anyway, you had a question.
I had a question, but I don't remember what it was.
See, that's the thing with me. I'm a runaway train.
I have one. Talk more on your...
Remember that question.
I'm just curious more about your brokerage. Did you ever have your own brokerage? Were you a managing broker?
That's a great question.
What made you decide to stay with a national or a franchise company? I'm with a private company. Just curious. what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, and here's what I say. The question is, what made you decide to go with national brokerages versus starting your own? I've been a broker I got my broker's license 10 years ago. So I am a broker. You know, I could start Knolly Realty, and I've been so tempted to do that multiple times. Okay? When I went to Keller Williams, here's what honestly happened. I met with Gary. We had a 30-minute meeting set up. An hour and a half later, because y'all know how I am, and we hit it off. Okay? An hour and a half later, we're still in the meeting. People were like, "Gary, you got other meetings?" He's like, "No." Yeah. So we hit it off, and he asked, and that's where I was. I was going to start Knolly Realty, which I still have the name Knolly Realty. And he said, "Knolly, what would happen to you if you?" He asked me. He said, "How many agents are you going to have?" I said, "I'm probably going to have about 20 agents, Knolly Realty, 20 agents." He said, "What would happen to you if half of your agents left? You built this thing to 20 agents, half of them left overnight, and then the half that left came back and took all your administrative staff." I was like, that would be pretty tough. That would be hard. He said, "Well, that's what happened to me." What happened to him and why he built Keller Williams the way he built it. He said, if you're going to start a brokerage, you need 100 or 150 agents. And I was like, no way, I'm going to have no 150, babysitting 150 people? No, I got to do that. So that's what made me decide that I didn't want to go that route, okay? Because honestly, a lot of people that have brokerages, they're not making any money. The brokerage is making money, but they got so many expenses that they're just not making money. I know people right now that are $100 million teams. I live better than they do. You know, they're in debt. Anyway, I know personally right now, personal friends of mine that own market centers of Keller Williams, 3 market centers, own them, okay, or own majority of them, and they are in debt up to their eyeballs. They're not living life, right? So anyway, for me, it just wasn't. Now, that's the reason why I didn't start my own. Now, when EXP came along, I didn't know anything about EXP. I was like, people talking about EXP, man, stop talking to me about that crap. I don't want to listen to that. So people have always been talking about me about EXP. I didn't want to know anything about it. I didn't care, because my whole thing was, I'm a teacher, I'm a trainer, I'm a coach. I like doing what I do. So, but when my buddies, when they joined, and I'm not going to harp on EXP too much, but I'm just saying, you asked the question why. 7 months ago, they were like, they joined EXP, and I was like, cool, good for you, hooray, whatever. But then I started looking at them like, man, these guys do $100 million a year. They do 450 transactions a year, 40 deals a month. I've never done that kind of production, right? And they've been friends of mine. They've been over my house dozens of times. I mean, at least a half a dozen times, but I've run into them at conventions. They're really good friends over the last 10 years. We were at Keller Williams together. They were 2 of the top 100 Keller Williams agents in the world, okay? Out of 160,000, they were 2 of the top 100 in Gary's inner circle. They spent time on Gary Keller's ranch, private ranch, just them and Gary Keller on the ranch. That's these guys, right? So when they joined, I had to really kind of listen to a little bit and start paying attention. And then as I uncovered it, I said, this is insane. Nobody ever told me all this about it, and I was just blown away. So for me, it would make more sense for me to go through EXP and bring on 100 agents than to have my own brokerage and have 100 agents. Doesn't make any sense to do it that way. So or even if you want to have a brokerage with 10 or 20 agents, it's better to just go through EXP, for me, from what the research I did, and have 10 or 20 agents that way. And they're not even on your brokerage, they're just at EXP, but you're helping them to succeed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
To be successful.
So to get all these listings, how do you get that many listing appointments? Because right now I'm listing for people that I know to get it out there and get it.
How do you get that? How do you get that many listings?
Right, or listing appointments to even get the chance to get the listings.
Yeah. And because a lot of you guys are seeing people doing this, they're getting all these listings, and you're like, what in the world are you doing? What's going on here? Well, let me show you. So what I've discovered, I was in Sacramento one time, and I started thinking, sometimes when you travel, one of the good things about traveling is it takes you out of your comfort zone, and you start having, not really premonitions, but you start having epiphanies. I call them epiphanies. And so one time I was in Sacramento, and I was in the shower, and I just had this epiphany, like this voice just said, where are you getting all your business? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I never really thought about it. I'm getting a lot of business, and I love it. I always ask people this question, and we'll get back. I always ask them, how'd you hear about me? Like I asked Juanita this morning. You know what most people say? Exactly what she said. I don't know. I just know you're everywhere. I just know, I don't remember how I heard about you, right? Which is cool. That means you're doing something right with your thing, with you becoming a celebrity, your marketing. But I always want to know, like when you go into a listing, you always want to know how they heard about you. Why? What's the number one reason? So you can keep doing it. Most people say that, and that is a big reason. But the second big reason is so you can know what your job is going to be. Yeah, not only know your numbers, but that's a big one. That's a good one. But another, so okay, that's working. I'm going to keep doing that. But also, when I go to, it's Christy. I go to Christy. How'd you hear about me?
A friend.
A friend. Okay. You know what she just told me? I don't have to do any work. Her friend referred me. So her answer tells me how much work I'm going to have to do at the listing appointment. Which friend was it, Christy? And then she tells me her friend, I love her. Don't you love her too? Then we just start talking about her friend for 15 minutes. We don't even have to talk about her house. She's already going to list with me. Her friend told her to list with me. Right. It's a done deal. Now, if she said, well, I was driving by and saw your sign in the yard, I got some work to do. Tells me how much work I have to do at the appointment, right? Now, where do we get these? So I started thinking about it. I said, if I were to, I just started thinking about it. And as I started thinking, and you know what I actually did? I reverse engineered it. I looked at all the listings. Like the last year that I was unretired, okay, I did 153 deals. Not all listings, but most of them were. Over 120 of them were listings. I did 153 closings, okay, that year. So I just went back and looked at every closing that I had for like so many years, and I just put a little color code on where they came from, okay? And they fell into 3 buckets. Okay, this is what I teach too. 3 buckets. That's a bucket, by the way. That's a bucket. Okay, so I call this the 3 buckets. Now, one of the things that I like so much about my training, have you ever heard a trainer say that? I like so much about, but I like to teach stuff that's evergreen. Now, I love going to training that's the latest. Like I like learning about Facebook ads, and I love learning about funnels and all that stuff. I do all that stuff. But I don't teach that because I teach it privately to people, and I do teach it some on YouTube, but that's not evergreen. Evergreen is something that you can use today, 5 years from now, or 20 years from now. And there are evergreen things. I don't know if y'all know that, but like a book by Al Reeves, The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, evergreen, okay? Think and Grow Rich, evergreen, okay? The psychology, or anyway, there's a lot of evergreen books out there, a lot of evergreen training. This is evergreen. So bucket number 1 is your sphere of influence, okay? According to the National Association of Realtors, 70% of your business is going to come from people that you know you, like you, and trust you already. People that are your friends, they're just people that know of you somehow. They're in your sphere of influence. So that's 70% of your business. The second bucket, these are your niche and your farm. Okay? The other 30% is going to come from this. So your niche, what I always tell people is, like for example, a cardiologist makes a lot more money than a general practitioner, yet they work less. They work about 30% less hours, but they're more in demand for the people that need them. You know that only 6% of Americans have heart disease. Did you know that? Only 6%. So for 94% of Americans, cardiologists are completely irrelevant. Completely. They don't need them. They won't ever look them up or any. But for the 6% that need them, they're willing to spend big bucks, and it's a big enough market for them to raise their rates. A doctor, like a doctor makes about 150 to 160, okay? A general practitioner, even 10 years in the business, that's what they make. Yeah, a year, okay? A general practitioner. Now, a cardiologist can make 300 plus, okay? 250 to 300 for doing less work, okay? Because they have a niche business. When you have a niche, people seek you out. You're the person, like when we were doing short sales, that was our niche, and every single one of our listings that we ever took, we never physically went out to the house before we had the listing paperwork. we would not go out to the house until we had the listing. Does that make sense? I mean, a lot of people are like, what is that? And I just calculated like the last 300 deals that we did when we were in that space, we never went to see the house until we had a listing agreement. Once we had the listing agreement, we would go see the house. But people were calling us because we were the experts doing that. Does that make sense? It's a niche. So you can do, a niche can be, I mean, I have a whole chapter that talks about niche businesses, if you want to read about that. And then your farm is an area that you've designated, I'm going to serve this area. This is going to be my area. Now, the way you really do that layers on top of all this is just where these leads are coming from, right? So when you, remember that there's 3 different kinds of what we call traffic, or 3 lead sources, 3 different kinds of leads. There's cold, there's warm, and there's hot, okay? The hot ones are the ones that are going to list with you. That's it. They're not going anywhere else. Warm is like they're ready to list their house, and they probably will go with you, but they might want to interview someone. Cold is like people that you don't know if they want to sell, buy. It's just unknown. Most realtors spend their money on cold traffic or warm traffic, right? And they just see, here's the thing. When you have a brokerage, for example, you've got 2 things at play. You've got recruiting, you got to bring people in, and retention, okay? Most people completely drop the ball when it comes to retention, and they only focus on recruiting. And that's why a lot of these brokerages do a piss poor job of retaining the people that they bring on, okay? Doesn't matter what brokerage it is. They bring a whole bunch of bodies in, and they just look at it as a numbers game. So many will stick. I don't see it that way. I see that, for me, retention is as important or more important, like retaining a current client is more important than generating a new one. So you can actually work your client base, if you really worked it to the level that you should, to where you can be generating a lot more business, even from 100 people that you contact on a regular basis, and they commit to you to give you 1 or 2 leads a year. 1 or 2 leads a year, that's 100 to 200 referrals that you should be getting. So there's ways to work this, and I have 5 chapters. 5 chapters in here. Again, you download it for free. 5 chapters where I talk nothing about this question that you asked me, okay? But these are going to be the 3 buckets where they come from. And one other thing, I'm going to wrap a bow on it about, somebody else had a question too, right? That you had a question? No, it was your question. So I'm going to put a bow on it with this. Things that happen in the physical realm manifest themselves first in the spiritual realm, okay? The Homo sapien, the human being, has 4 bodies. This is very important for you guys to understand this, okay? You have 4 bodies. You have a physical body, which gets most of the recognition, okay? You have a spiritual body. That's the true you. Like Wayne Dyer said, the body is no more than a garage where you temporarily park your soul. That's all the body is, okay? So you have a physical body, you have a spiritual body, that's the real you. You have a mental body, okay? That's this right here. A lot of people live in their head. And then you also have an emotional body, okay? There's a book called The Heart Math Method, where the guy basically did research around the heart. Jesus talked a lot about the heart. Like, if you do this in your heart, or if you think this in your heart, and you do this in your heart. Well, the heart is more than an organ. Scientists have proven this. So out of the heart, with certain spectrometers, they can see that it radiates about an 8-foot field from the heart. You can take a camera on any of you, and you'll see this field, an aura that comes out. It radiates. Now, we don't understand it. We don't know enough about it. Maybe in years we'll study and know more about this. But like if I come in your space, you'll begin to feel me when I get to a certain distance. You will actually feel me. Some people feel uncomfortable when they're too close to other people. Some people, when they're close to some people, they feel great, right? And some people walk in the room, they have a certain energy. We all have different energy. So here's the thing. When you're going after listings, but you're only putting your mental body at work in this, you're not really giving it the full go. Does that make sense? That's the reason why I would do things that I never teach. In fact, I just talked about this last week on a podcast with somebody who had me on. I just happened to talk about it because it slipped. But I would go through neighborhoods. People were like, man, you're like a listing magnet. I would manifest listings to me. And what I would do is I would drive through neighborhoods, I would not even door knock because I'm scared to death to door knock. It's just in my personality profile. A high D can door knock. I don't have that, what they have. My wife could do it all day, but I just can't. So I would actually walk through a drive-through, and I would just claim the neighborhood in the spirit realm. This sounds weird to a lot of people, but that's what I would do. And then all of a sudden, it would just start. See, here's the thing: when you start learning things like the power of your subconscious mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy, okay, or Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. When you start reading this kind of material, or Audible, because all those books are on Audible, when you start getting them on Audible, you start to open your mind to other possibilities of how these things, how you attract what you want. The last thing I'm going to say about this is this right here, that, see, and a lot of you, it's the difference between effort and ease. Effort and ease. Have you ever noticed that some people live a very effortless life and things just kind of happen for them, right? It's because they have other departments turned on that you may not have to full capacity. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you can, and some of this may not make sense to you guys at all. I've been studying this stuff for years, so I just say it, right? And you're like, it's kind of weird. But truthfully, the Homo sapien race is a weird race. We're very strange. We've discovered, this is true, just Google it. We've discovered that the Homo sapien has 3 brains. Okay? We have 3 brains. We actually have a brain in our gut. It's true. 90% of the serotonin that the Homo sapien has is created right here. 90% of it, and other chemicals and things that are created right here. They say that the intelligence of the gut is about that of a dog, a canine, okay? Which they're pretty smart. You ever had one? They're pretty good, right? And they're wonderful, right? So there's a brain that's been discovered that's right here. They're still trying to figure out how it works. There's actually a brain in the heart that they've discovered. The heart math method, decades of research around that. We have a brain here as well, so we have 3 brains. Okay, men have 4, but that's another topic. We won't get into that. So there's things that you can actually do, and by the way, these principles, God has put certain principles in this earth that we have yet to discover. We don't really know how they work, these mechanisms. But what I will say is, they're working. The people that are doing this and doing all this, whether they know about these rules or not, they're working them. Like they don't. Like I didn't know any of this stuff existed, but I just knew that I wanted a lot of listings. I said I want 100. You know what I actually did? The first year I was in business, I got on eBay. This God's honest truth. My wife will tell you. I got on eBay and I ordered a bunch of Monopoly sets. Okay, a bunch of Monopoly sets. This stuff I don't even teach, but since you asked the question, I got a bunch of Monopoly sets. And what I did was I threw away everything except the houses in them. I said I want to do 100 deals. I want to do 30 big deals, and I want to do 70 little, regular size. So I got a board in my office, and I set up those houses, physical houses, and I put on one side of it, this is my goal. So I had 70 greenhouses, and then I had the hotels I think are red, and so I had 30 of them. And then every time I would get one, I'd move it over. Close one, closings, not listings, closings, right? And so I was I didn't know I was doing that. But this is a real science that we're doing, that we're creating in reality. It's the same thing that God did. When we say, well, what God was, in the beginning, God, and He spoke, but a lot of times people think that He spoke something out of nothing. No. He spoke, see, God is everything, so He spoke something out of everything. What came out was from within, right? As is within, so was without. We haven't understood, and that's why Jesus had a hard time explaining these concepts to us, is we have not understood or unlocked the full potential that we have within us. The last thing I'm going to say on that was what I was getting to, and that's that imagine this is everything that's going on in your world, okay? Now, this is what you can see. It's like a radar. That's a radar, okay? And this is all you can see is that 1-inch square. But in the spirit realm, there's all this other stuff, like there's listings that are coming to you right now. But then you know what the biggest thing that deters those are 2 things. Number 1's fear, and number 2 is doubt. Because the scripture says, if the person begins to fear, let not that person think that they're going to have anything. Like you just wiped out everything that you, so you might actually have 5 listings coming to you right now, but then you start worrying. Matthew 6, do not worry. Okay, you start worrying like, oh, is it going to happen? I don't believe it. Oh, and then you know what happens? They start going back away from you. Somebody else gets the listing, or they list. I just had this happen 3 weeks ago to me. Man, I was getting cocky, arrogant. I was getting a lot of people bringing them to EXP. I was like, oh, and I started getting into ego. And it was fun being an ego sometimes because you're like, oh yeah, we got this going, you know. And I lost three people, and I was like, what's going on here? Something's not right. The energy shifted, and I just got back right, and things started happening again. Does it make sense? So I don't want to freak you guys out too much, but I'm just saying that what you can see that's going on in your world, the best way for you to read your life is backward. When you look at your life backward, doesn't it make more sense? Like, oh, that's why this stuff happened. That's why I lost my house. That's why I had to file bankruptcy. That's why I lost everything. You see what I'm saying? And you start, but at the time, is it fun? No, right? But just realize that these things are working together for your good, but you got to maintain the right attitude around it, okay? I promise I won't get that long-winded on the next question, but that's a great question.
Your illustration just reminded me of something. My husband and I used to sell Kirby vacuum cleaners.
Yeah, Kirby vacuums.
Back in
Anybody?
the day, so
Kirby vacuum.
when business was good, we had lots of it. When business wasn't good, we couldn't sell a vacuum cleaner.
Right, right. That's a good point. Yeah. And the thing is, my wife bought a Kirby vacuum and she didn't even have carpet. That's how good Kirby sells. They're just good salespeople. He was like, look, he was like, oh, it works in the curtains too. Okay, I'll take one.
That is funny.
Yeah. Okay. I've got time for a few more questions. Any other? Have I helped you guys? Has this been very helpful? Okay.
Oh, would you repeat those authors? Because I only got
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah, I actually have, what I'll do, I've got this, I didn't bring many of these, but I'll pass this around. This is I have a list.
Like a reading list?
My top 20 books of recommended books. And you guys can take a photo of that page, because I didn't bring extras of this, but.
on your website? Your top
Yeah, actually it is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, everything's on my, you just download it. Like, that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just go and do it that way. So my top 20 books, and if you don't find it, just email me and I'll send you the link to it or whatever, easy to find.
Can a niche can be speaking a second language?
Yes, yeah. Can a niche be, or a niche, can that be a second language? Of course, yeah. Homes on golf course communities, it could be lakefront properties. Now, by the way, when you have a niche, that doesn't have to be everything you do. It can be a division of your business. So we have, and what I would do if you have a second language, whether it be Italian, Spanish, whatever it is, hey, you know what? I think our Spanish division can help with that. You know, you start thinking that way, right? You know what? We have a Spanish division as well. You know, doesn't that sound better? It's really just you. I mean, you've got 2 different divisions, but you can have more than one division, can't you? And you're just the only person that runs all of them. Nobody says you can't do that. So I've got a buddy of mine, he owns oneacreplus.com. Oneacreplus.com. What does he specialize in? Selling homes on 1 or more acres. So when he goes to a person and says, hey, I own oneacreplus.com, can he sell a house better than you can on an acre or more? No, but they think he can because he owns oneacreplus.com. Oh, well, you know. I have another friends of ours, Deidre, they own the Atlanta Church Ladies, or atlantachurchlady.com. What do they specialize in selling? Churches. Did you know there's agents that they sell churches? I mean, niches, I've seen so many, it's crazy. I list a bunch of them in the book, but that's a great question. You can definitely have a niche of a second language. Don't give up what you're already doing to do a niche, but I'm saying you can definitely do that for sure. Any other questions? Are y'all ready for me to go home? I heard there's a storm coming in, so we got to get over to Denver. Is it going to be bad? Like, what kind of storms y'all have? Like, tumbleweeds blow like in Texas? It's like... You got a question?
What's the best way to get yourself out there, like on the internet?
Oh, that's a great question. What's the best way to get out there on the internet? the first thing you want to do is make a determination to get started. I am going to do this. I will do this. Convince yourself. And then just pick your avenue. One avenue is what I like is YouTube. So I follow this guy named James Wedmore, Wedmore. He has a lot of free videos online. There's a bunch of them now, but he taught me how to get on YouTube. I was scared to death. I mean, I tell you, and I was so stiff, like I was real rigid, like, and I thought you had to wear a tie and all. And my earlier videos, it's a joke. But now it's like I don't care. I'm letting ego go out the window. Most of us don't move forward because we're afraid of how we come across or how we look. And so I just did a video, which I'm going to put on YouTube in a little while, from this guy that owns videoadbuilder.com, I think, or Video Ad Bootcamp, videoadbootcamp.com. Okay, videoadbootcamp.com. Kevin Anson's his name. He's a friend of mine, and he just started that. And his advice is just get started. Like, actually do videos that you never intend to publish. Like, to me, YouTube's the best place. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, behind Google. So start on YouTube. Some people want to start on Instagram. Some people want to start on Facebook. It's up to you. Pick your platform, and then just do video that you never intend to show anybody. You know what I mean? And then you get more comfortable being on camera and doing that. But there's no matter how bad you are, how much you suck, there's something to be said about being consistent with being in front of people.
For how long has to be the video? The first
Usually they say for a YouTube video, I'm going to give you two answers. The first answer that most people say is in between 3 to 7 minutes. 3 to 7 minutes. And usually a YouTube video will have a bumper and an outro. So be, hey, Knolly Williams here with such and such, and in this video I want to show you 3 tips to get more listings. Stay tuned. And then it goes into the little bumper, and then I teach whatever. Hey, Knolly Williams here again. I hope you like this video about 3 tips on how to get more listings. By the way, and you go into that. So it's you start with there's a formula to it. And I guarantee you, if you Google it, you'll find a lot of information on how to do this. I teach some of it, but I don't teach as much of the video stuff. Right here, we got some of the best video people in your city right here. Give him a high five, brother. What's up? Video in the house. So make sure you get his card, because he'll help you feel more comfortable on video until you feel like doing it on your own. Even though I do I just use my smartphone, when I do video. But when it comes to things like this, I hire help. I get help when I need it. Makes sense. So, sure.
When you work with buyers, do you always have a buyer's agency agreement?
Yes. Oh, okay. It's a good question. No. When I work with buyers, do I always have a buyer agency agreement before I start working with them? The broker answer is yes, you should do that. The Knolly answer is I don't always do it. I just like being around people. I don't like paperwork. I don't like contracts. Now I realize that there's a place for having it in writing. God didn't just tell us stuff; He put it in writing. It's a book, the Bible, right? So He didn't just say, hey, by the way, I'm going to do, He put it in writing. So there is something to be said about putting it in writing. My personality profile, I'm usually pretty good at getting people to know, like, and trust me. And so they just feel comfortable working with me. They know that I'm there to educate them. I'm not going to harm them. Once your client knows that you're there not to harm them, but to be open, honest, and ethical, and to look out for their best interest, they're gonna be loyal. But usually, if I'm trying to get a buyer rep agreement up front, I just say, look, it's an exchange of loyalty. I'm gonna be loyal to you in exchange for you being loyal to me. And in order to do that, here's the form that we use, and then I have them sign it. Especially if I think they're weaselly or squirrely. There's some, that one that in your gut, you're like, don't work with that person, and you do it anyway. You got to listen more. But yeah, sometimes I do work with, but what I always do, obviously when you draw up the offer, you want to include it in at that time, but it's always best to have it beforehand if you can, because I've been burned. Anybody been burned? Yeah, I've been burned. Yeah. And if they won't sign it up front, it is a sign that there's something, going on there. They're not that there is something, that it's just a sign for you to question there might be something else going on. I think we have time for one more question. Any other? Do y'all feel like y'all got what you came for? You got your money's worth? Okay. Continue if you took go online, get my top. A lot of you guys don't like to read, but get my top 20 books, because I tell people, see, when I was in 5th grade, and I don't say this to brag because it has nothing to do with me. I can't take any credit for it. When I was in 5th grade, I was reading on a 2nd-year college level. 5th grade, I was a sophomore college reader. I love to read. So I just have this disease called readology. I'm reading 4 or 5 books at a time, all the time. And they're of my top 20 books, only 2 of them are in the real estate field, okay? The other, I don't really read much real estate stuff, because to be successful in this business, you don't really have to learn that much about real estate. It's God's honest truth. You just have to learn about human behavior, human nature, psychology, understanding the Homo sapien, understanding success, period. How do you manifest success? There's thousands of ways to do it. Another agent would teach you a different way than what I know, but they're still successful. Doesn't matter. Like some people just teach door knocking. And like, for example, Kenny Klaus. You know how he's successful and doing hundreds of millions of dollars? He was a FedEx driver. And when he got into real estate, he said, well, when I was in FedEx, I just went to certain neighborhoods. I knew all the dogs, and I knew all the people, I knew who was home and who wasn't. So he just started knocking doors. And he became hundreds of millions in real estate. Now he's got multiple businesses and big teams and all kinds of stuff. I wouldn't do that, but that's how he did it. See what I'm saying? And so what I teach people is drink from many fountains. I don't have all the truth, but there's a bigger picture to discover than just, okay, how do I sell a whole bunch? Because you can sell a whole bunch of real estate and still not be successful, period. Tony Robbins teaches this. You can do 100, there's people do 100, 200, 300, 400 deals a year, and they're not successful people. They got failed marriages, their health is bad, poor. See, if you have failed health and a great business, what is that? It's still not what it should be. It's not optimal. Make sense? Sure.
What do you look for in a buyer's agent?
What do I look for in a buyer's agent? Now, I do have a whole chapter about hiring a good buyer agent, but you really, for the profile of a good buyer agent, you're probably going to want and this gets into disc profiling, a CSI or probably an ISC. Honestly, that's my profile. I'm a great buyer specialist. A person that's really good with people, but also good with the information, like retains the information, and is very patient. They have to be extremely patient to work with buyers that way. And of course, honest and trustworthy. High Ds, to me, don't make great buyer agents. They make good listing specialists. But they can do it with some adaptation, if you know what I mean. But typically, it's going to be that person that, most of the Ds are going to go more for the listing side of it, You also want to hire people that you don't believe will compete with you, because you can actually be hiring the competition. It's one of those, it's a double-edged sword, because you want them to know everything you know, but if you most people hire exactly what they are. Wrong. I'm going to hire somebody just like me. Now we got 2 people not getting anything done. You hire the opposite of you. So if you're a great listing specialist, you hire the opposite. That's going to be a good buyer agent. If you're a great buyer agent, you hire a listing specialist. I don't know if you guys know it, but lead buyer guys like Sean Kokoska, he did 100 buyers a year, and he ran one of the biggest teams that I know of, and with buyers. But he hired listing agents. See what I mean? And that's what you can do. It's a reverse of what we are talking about, but there's all kinds of ways to do this. So I'm at my time, guys. There's a couple more slides that I can't get to because my clicky is no worky. So, you want to manually click them?
But they're going to get on the slides.
Yeah, but I want to make sure I'm not missing. There's a couple things. Those cards, the Success with Listings book cards, let's pass those around. And is it? Before we head to Denver? Okay.
You'll be okay. We have to be a sharp list.
Oh, a shot. Right? Okay, so I always want to finish with let's look at what we learned, okay? Why listings are the best opportunity in real estate. We talked about that. Why you should transition your core business to listings. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. How to win the listing before you ever meet with the seller. We talked about that. How to earn more money and work less, and how to get all the success tools that I use in my business to help sellers believe in you for free. That's what we cover today. Good job?
Yep.
All right. Remember, get your free copy of Success with Listings. There's only so much I can share with you in 3 hours, but that's the rest of the story. You got my business card. Don't forget, you can get that puppy right there by going to the place that we talked about earlier. And I'm Knolly Williams. I've had a great time. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for letting me serve.